What's up, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of the Hot Mess. Is it Express? I'm forgetting her podcast name. This is how much of a hot mess Kelly is. She's forgetting. Is it Hot Mess? What is our podcast name?
Hot, hot mess healing podcast.
Oh my God, I'm like Hot Mess Express. No, that's probably something. If anyone else has that podcast trademarked, please forgive us. It's just I have no brain cells anymore. Okay. Well, welcome
I like
to
it better though.
welcome to our podcast. Oh my gosh, today we are going to be talking about an interesting topic that I feel like basically everyone on social media is kind of like either notices it or they're affected by it. And it's like those people that you know that like they're like the girl next door and maybe you can just tell that they're buying followers. It's a thing to buy likes and you can buy comments and views on your reels. Did you know all this?
I sure did, Kelly.
I feel like a lot of people do not know about this and kind of the effects that it has. So I want to talk about that today too, because I know a couple girls personally that are clearly doing that, and we'll kind of dive into that. But first, how was your week in therapy world? I had like the most chill week. I literally did nothing all week, so like I have nothing. But you had an interesting experience this week, right?
I did. Well, in general therapy world, I think I had like 20 something people this week, so it was already pretty busy. But I've been interviewing people for therapist positions for my practice, and I had to text you this like last night because I just literally had like one of the worst interviews like on the planet.
I heard about this. I this is the first time I'm hearing about this. So what the hell happened with this interview?
Okay, so for context, for anyone who's new here, so I run an ADHD therapy practice, and so I was interviewing this person, and I asked them like, what got you interested in my practice, or when you saw my ad, like what got you interested in here? And I swear to God, word for word, this is like the first question, and just word for word, they go, "I want some remote work."
So they really didn't even care where it was. They just need a virtual job. Okay.
They just wanted a virtual job, which is whatever, because whatever, who cares about that? But I was like, that's like the first way we're starting this off. And then I asked them like, what was their experience with like ADHD people? How do they feel with working with people with ADHD? And their answer was, I tolerate them, and like you know how they get where they're like can't focus and they talk too much, but you have internal stuff you use to cope, and I tolerate them.
Wait, so they literally applied for a job for an ADHD-centered practice, and they don't even really like working with that population. So they clearly didn't even read your ad. They just submitted like a resume.
Right? I think that's got to be it, but see, then there were other parts where we were doing it, and honestly, if I didn't feel this way, this wouldn't have been the worst interview ever. But then, like, I realized through some of the questions they were answering, I feel like how they worded it, they did read our ad and they did know that we were an ADHD practice. I was confused by like the answering, and then they just did like a couple other things too. And then, and then I told them we're gonna bring everything back to our team, and like I already put like a big X on it, like while I'm like doing it, but it's whatever. And I swear to God, they thought they ate with this interview because they were like, "Oh my goodness, thank you. I look forward to hearing from you next week so we can get started." And I was like, "Oh my God!"
like, wow. You know what though? Like I wish I had the confidence of that person. So
I do.
For an interview or whatever, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I bombed that. I suck. I'm the worst." But like, I want the confidence of that person to just walk away from something you clearly just like miserably bombed, and then like, yeah, I got this. They want me. We all should have more of that attitude, I feel like.
We really should. Like, honest to God, like interpersonally, we need that. Like, honest to God, I think there's a healthy amount of delusion you can live in.
That's, I feel like I'd rather live, I always tell my best friend, I'm like, I would rather live in like a delusional la la land sometimes than the real world. Cause like, man, how do these people get like that? Okay, we need to figure this out. We need to
We do.
Delusional, like a healthy amount, clearly, but
exactly. Unlike the unhealthy amount we're about to get into, because some of these influencers are delusional.
And it's again, like I think now everyone wants to be an influencer and overnight success. And I think regardless of what you're doing in life, whether you're an athlete, a therapist, even an influencer, like this stuff, to do it right takes time. You have to put in the work, you have to put in the effort. Of course, there's an occasional viral video or some people get discovered overnight, yes, but I feel like that's like the 1%, and you don't see the people who, like the business owners, the entrepreneurs who have failed and spent their last dime trying to create a business. But the problem is the internet makes it look so easy and so quick that now, like we said at the beginning, you have these people who are buying followers. And I know you did some research on this too, on some therapist focused accounts, and you found what percentage of people did you find actually had fake or bought followers?
So it wasn't necessarily like a percentage because I only ran like 5 or 10 of them or something like that. But basically, I mean, I figured out as far as like the percentage of fake followers some of them had. Some of them had anywhere between like 40%, 50%. I saw one with like 65%, and they were like a big person that like I followed back in the day. And it was just like shocking to see that. That once you get to those couple, so basically, for anyone who wants to know how I did this, by the way, there's a bunch of them that you can look up online. They're free. There's free generators that you can look up to put somebody's Instagram handle into, to see how many of these people are fake followers. And I usually say like, if you have more than like, let's say 20 to 25%, that's like where we're kind of pushing it, because these generators aren't really 100% accurate, but they're pretty accurate, right? So I always say if you have like 20-25% fake followers that's listed on these things, you're probably making really good content. Most of these people probably are real. Sometimes the generator also puts in people who are just inactive, right? So that can affect your score. Like me, I had like a 1% fake follower at an active rate, and then randomly I ran mine again, and I randomly had like a 15% one day. So it gets added in, but like when I see things that are like 60, 75%, like some of this is just like obvious to me that something's going on.
You can tell, and like you can tell, and like I said, I can think of like 3 people off the top of my head that I personally know. And again, like I'm looking at their posts, and they're just like they're not a J-Lo, they're not like a Kim Kardashian, and they're getting 10,000 likes on their latest post, and it's just them like maybe sitting outside, and I'm like, okay, I think people, I mean, we're not stupid. Like we know but why are people doing this? It's because they want the validation. They want to be someone. Everyone wants to be someone. Let's face it, even us doing a podcast, we all want to be somebody. We want to be like whatever that means to you. But like, I think sometimes that just takes over, and people are willing to literally pay money for this stuff. And it's hard. It's a tricky topic. Like I get where they're coming from. I'm not judging people. I understand it's a lot of stuff tied into that, like self-esteem, value, acceptance by your peers, but still like it's a slippery slope, because then some people might look at that and be like, oh my God, like I only got 2 likes, or we have a friend that does a podcast, and
Is it a friend? Yeah. Is it a friend?
Kind of. But you tell her account's real because it has like 1 like, but I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather appreciate someone's 1 like versus 10,000 likes that they bought. And I don't know, man. It's just, and the fake followers, like it's just, I feel like it's gotten out of control. We need to just like get back to the real world and like stop glorifying followers and likes. It's like, Jesus.
Well, not only that, but also it's just kind of like you have these people where, first of all, this isn't 2011 anymore. Like in 2011, 2012, 2013, when Instagram kind of first launched and got started or whatever, that was like a time where you could get away with stuff like that, and it genuinely like boosted your numbers. And like, I'm not saying it was right then either, but I am saying like a lot of people also didn't know that those were fake followers. Like I remember, okay, so I'll give you a personal story. So I actually bought followers when I was like 18 once, and I genuinely thought like when these stuff first came out in like 2012, whatever, I thought that this was like a marketing service. So I was paying like to be exposed to these people or something. So I was like, oh, it's boosting my account so my feed shows up or something more. I had no idea, right? And so like what ended up happening was it's actually my personal account that I still have, and I have this account where it was just my personal one, and then I bought these followers for it when I was 18, and then like 7 years later I started trying to use it professionally, and I like was going on Instagram lives, and I was busting my ass, and I was like whatever, and like I was only growing by like maybe 100 people a month, give or take, like nothing like too crazy a growth, and I was like active on it, and I couldn't figure out like why is this not happening. And it's because when you buy fake followers, your account gets shadow banned, so the only people who are going to see you is if you are popping up on someone else's page. So what's going to end up happening is you're not going to grow anyway, and it actually kind of screws you, so you're forced to be buying these followers, and it's more of a scam for you to continue to live in Delulu land. But basically how I even proved this is because I literally started my whole page over, and I just said I'm just going to start my ADHD therapist Instagram page because my TikTok was already doing whatever. And literally in like 9-10 months, I had like 60,000 followers just by posting every day, twice a day. And it was just, I didn't have to do as much work as I did before to get 2,400 followers on my page.
And it's hard. I mean, and you want, this goes back to even like, you know, psychology. Like, you want people to like you for who you are, not who they think you are, or some, you know, number that's on your screen. So I think it feels better to get that organic stuff. But I feel like society today doesn't care what stuff feels like or what you've worked for. It's more what you have. And I think it comes down to like, oh, how many followers you have, how many likes you got. Even like working with companies for brand deals, they don't really care what you're doing. They just want to see how many followers you have in your engagement. So it's like, oh my God. It's hard to get out of that cycle, I think, once you're in it too. You almost can't win.
But again, it's like, how do you have 40, 50, 60, 70,000 followers and you only have like 8 likes on each of your posts? Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, then you have to buy the likes, and then you have to buy the comments, and like it's real clever. Like, you can type in keywords that you want the bots to comment. Like, you know, I've seen it, and then you click on these people, they're not even following. It's just I can't even. It's just a mess. But I guess, how would someone get out of that if they're in it? Do you just I don't? It's like an addiction.
It's I mean, getting out of it, you're going to have to literally start your account over. Like, if you want, because especially if you're buying them at that rate. Like, I bought followers when I say I bought followers, I bought them like one time. It was like, I remember when I did this too, because I remember finding the website and I was up at night. It was like 2 or 3 a.m. I couldn't sleep. And I just found this website where it was like, oh, buy your followers for Instagram, get your page exposed, whatever. And I spent like maybe like $40 on like 5,000 followers. And like, I kid you not. So they all come in. This is what they'll do. You'll see, this is so funny. They'll all come in at once. So you'll literally see it just start pouring in. And like, in 2011, I thought like these are real people at first because I didn't look at their pages or anything. So I was like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. Like, my random like Starbucks photo is finally being seen.
That's the thing. And it's like, oh my God. And it's again, that feeds into the addiction. And like, how do you go back from that, you know? Because you're just like, oh my God. Well, and even for you, like, how do you come back? Like, because you've had a couple of viral TikToks. Do you feel like now every time that you do content, you have to hit that benchmark of that viral video? Does it disappoint you when you don't get as many likes? Like, how does that feel?
I feel like for me, like, I don't get as hung up about the follower count or even the likes as much as I do the comments, because I wanted to be a content creator since I was like 12. So the reason I didn't keep buying followers over and over again after that night was because I'm not addicted to like necessarily the follower count. I mean, I celebrate milestones and do whatever, but like you get a 50K, 100K, like I'm going to celebrate that shit. But like, it's not something that really bothers me per se, except for this one therapist who you know secretly, but we're not going to get into, but I just know they can be my shit. So they have more on Instagram than me right now, and I'm kind of bitter, and I think they buy followers, but I'm not sure yet. But anyway, we're not going to get into that today. So, but it doesn't really bother me other than that. But yeah, it's like the comment, like I wanted my stuff to be seen. So like when the bots came in and no one's commenting on my stuff, it's like, well, no one's appreciating my stuff anyway. So it's like, why? Like, this is stupid. And then I realized they're just fake all to begin with. But like, there are people who, when they do that, it is like an addiction, but it's more of an addiction. I feel like if you continue to do that, it's like an addiction to the outside world. Like, you want the outside people in your life to see, look how famous I look.
Yeah. And I mean, look, like, I'm not immune to that. How many times have I texted you and been like, oh my God, I don't think this post did well. Should I take it down? Like, I'm a therapist. We help people with this, but I'm not immune to that either. Like, it feels good to get people that like your stories or your posts. And then when it doesn't happen, you're like, oh shit, what's wrong with me? And we personalize that stuff so much. It's like, okay, again, you could read through our text messages. I'm like, oh my God, do I not look good enough? Was it not professional? Was it too professional? Like, it kind of screws up your self-esteem, and like I'm the first one to admit that it's not easy. Social media can be great, but it also sucks too.
I feel like though with me, I feel like I'm like the one who with you, and I'm just like, if you don't post that shit like already.
Yes, you're like, you always help me through it. You're like my unpaid therapist. So but I get why people do it, and it's like the social media addiction, it's a real thing. Posting, the like count, it's just, for many people, that's like the only validation they get is like a heart on their photo. And I mean, that's why you come to therapy to see us. You know, I might not be able to help myself with this, but I can help you. Like, do as I say.
You're not out here buying followers, though.
You know, and it's, yes, maybe, you know, because I feel like it's fake. It's just fake. I feel like this is two different topics too, like the followers and the fakeness, and then also getting the validation from the likes are like two different things, but it's still related. And God, that comes up a lot because I work with a lot of, in my practice, influencers, models, you know, whatever. So it's important to them, and so it comes up a lot in sessions.
It does, and I think it depends too. If we're talking about the online space, it really depends. Is somebody a content creator or an influencer? Because I feel like those are two different vibes, right? Those are two more of like influencer. I get more like lifestyle vibes, so they have the more aesthetic-y, the more look at me and see where I'm going type of post. Whereas a content creator, they probably have a very specific niche when it comes to entertainment, or a specific niche when it comes to education. In my case, kind of both. So like for me, I want people to be entertained and learn from my videos. I want people to actually live and appreciate and love them. And secretly, sometimes I want people to hate them too, because that helps. But like, you know, and when people don't, like, it does affect you in some type of way. And I don't care what one person says it doesn't. Like, I don't care my follow count or anything like that. But like, if I post a video and it gets like no comments randomly, I'm like, why is like no one engaging with this?
And then that kind of leads me to another thing, like the negative comment. Because actually, I was just doing a session last week, and that came up. Actually, I was on a podcast, and that came up. And we were talking about how one negative comment could ruin your whole entire day. Like, you get 100 comments that are like, this is great, so helpful, you're the best. And there's that one or two comments that are like, you suck, you're fat, picking on your body, how you look, like how, you know, and people are cruel. Like,
the amount of times I get called fat in a week, like it's 2004.
That's why, like, I feel so bad for you, because again, these people just sit behind their keyboard and they're vile, and like it's disgusting. And like, how do you maintain your self-esteem when people are literally attacking you?
And what's funny too is like, see, this is me being petty, but it's like I actually want them to get creative with their insults, because sometimes I like to see like variety, because it's like if you're just saying like I'm like fat and obese or whatever, yeah, I know I'm fat. Like that's nothing new to me right now. I know I'm in my little 30 stage, and we got to get on that treadmill workout stage. But like I get it. But I'm like, why is that like just the only thing that you can come up with? I can insult myself 10 different ways better than these people can. Like,
yeah, it's the low hanging fruit. It's the like picking on the physical appearance, the weight, you know, hair, whatever it is. Like, it's terrible. And I think it doesn't matter like if you're like a Kardashian level celebrity, again, an athlete, or just like me or you. Like, I think a negative comment, it's just. There's just so much anger. I feel like there's so many topics in this, and then that could lead us into like the road rage. And I just don't feel like people are just more angry in general these days, like post-COVID, or.
I think so, because I think people are. So I have a theory behind this actually, because I've noticed even like you just said road rage, so like I'm thinking of that right now, and I even noticed like people are honking at people way more now, even before. And we live in Metro Detroit, y'all, so we've already got like bad road rage for the last 20 years. Like, it's bad over here already. But I swear, the last like 2 or 3 years, it's been so much worse. Like, I feel like every time I'm at like a green light, you hear someone just going, like, it just turns green, and they're like, you know. So it's just like, and I feel like my theory behind it is because we were away from society for like a whole year and a half, whatever it was, but like. Also, because of that, we had everything instantly now, right? So you had social media. We were constantly more on it, so you could react to something right away more often. You have DoorDash that was always being brought in. That's more accessible than ever now, so that was brought into you. You working from home, that was all instant because everyone had to have their like Microsoft Teams online or whatever their status is called, right? So everything was ironically working. It was actually more instant than when society was just like in an office in a way sometimes, right? Or whatever you were working. And so now I feel like because of that, people just kind of instantly think, I want this, I need to contact this person. So I don't know how we got to a point where we got away from an office or away from a work setting and we became more accessible, right? But somehow that happened, and because of that, impulsivity, I think, came in. So I think a lot more people are more impulsive with communication now. So they're more likely to just fly off the fucking handles.
Yes. Yes, and like you said, there's that space. Whereas before, like if someone said something to you, perhaps there was that space to drive home and to think about it and to calm down. There's really no time or space for like reflection, for, to calm yourself down. And yeah, like you said, we want that instant response. Like if someone pisses you off, oh, I'm going to show them, I'm going to type a mean comment, I'm going to like, get right up on their bumper. Like, I don't know, like there's no space anymore to calm down. It's always like dun, 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 instantaneous, no impulse control anymore. And yeah, rough.
It's oh my God, it's like rough out here for real.
It is. And, I think the anger comes up a lot. Again, in the sessions, but yeah, it's tough. And I don't know. I think the only cure for that is just kind of work on yourself. Like again, go to therapy, figure out what you can do, what's triggering you. I think that I always say to my clients, I'm like, if you are triggered and you are in that like just rage mode, it's too late. It's almost too late to kind of do your techniques at that point. You got to figure out what's going to trigger you before, and already go into this knowing like, okay, I'm getting to that point. Because you know how it is. When you're at that point, you're like Hulk mode. You're just like pissed at the world. There's no stopping you. But
you're like full of Regina George, putting Katie into the burn book, screaming like.
Yes. So yeah, I feel like God. This is like a little bit of a depressing episode. Has our society turned to like an angry, self-absorbed like machine? Like that's what we are now. But then I think of like all the good stuff going on in the world too, and I feel like that doesn't get enough attention. Like there's still people doing amazing things. Like there's some great charities. There's people like actually making a difference in the world. So I don't know. I don't.
But when it comes to online, honestly, the negativity, like actually, like whether you like it or not, negativity is always going to attract more views, comments, likes, all that than the positive stuff. And I don't care what anyone says. Like the fact that in the last month, one of my most popular posts was about a social worker I know who got her license suspended for having phone sex with her client. And it's like, and I post all this good educational fun stuff all like month long, but then this pops up and everyone's like wanting to jump on it. Like to me, it just like, it's something that like grabs your attention just naturally.
And I think that's what it is too, because we are competing for everyone's attention. And what do you have, like 3 seconds to get it? So yes, you're right. The more controversial, the more scandalous, juicy, like no one wants to like hear about the good stuff, or like, oh, I went to the soup kitchen last week. Like that's like you said, like I'd rather hear like, okay, how did this girl like end up with a client? Like what happened? Like I think it's human nature to want the gossip and like the scandalous stuff. And yeah, and it's instant now. Again, you used to have to wait for the water cooler at work to like catch up on Monday with your coworkers. Now it's like instant. We know stuff that happens before even the people that happen to.
Because your coworkers are posting their messy lives with their baby daddy online. So
access to people too. Like it's just there's instant access, and it's a whole new world these days. But oh my God.
I know. It's absolutely insane. This conversation went everywhere though. More than
like this was just but I think that's like kind of just how it is. But yeah, basically I think at the end of the day, you do you on social media. If at the end of the day you're not hurting anyone, you're happy with what you're putting out there, like yes, put out whatever you want to put out as long as it's like, I don't know, not hurting or.
Oh my God. This like clicked in my head just now, and it's only because we were talking about rage and we were actually talking about impulse control, but it was a story I told you about earlier in the week. So do you remember the story I told you about in Dearborn Heights where the lady shot her like boyfriend for cheating on her, and he like caught her or something, and she just shot him in the neck?
Yeah, that happens a lot.
I know, but it's literally like just that instant thing, right? Because I can remember she caught them, or like maybe she found out. I don't really know, but I'm like, it's literally just people act so instantly now that it's like they do crazy shit.
Yes. I mean, watch any Dateline episode where they call it like a crime of passion or whatever. Like, yeah, a lot of this stuff isn't even premeditated. It's just
on Investigation Discovery, my favorite show is like Love Scorned, where it's like people who cheat on each other.
Yes, and then and it's deadly. That's why you have to be careful too, like with the road rage stuff, because you never know. You never know, like people die like this. It's just, you have to be so careful. I think like that's the downside of this too, the impulsivity. Like people are getting hurt, they're dying from this. So it's really an issue that we need to figure out. And unfortunately, I think every kind of issue gets blamed on mental health providers. Like we have to save the world. There's so much behind this, but like we're here to help, but like we can't solve everyone's problem. This is so systemic. It's like, so much going on, but we're here to help. We're here to try.
I feel like we have a few more years left of duty because for some reason the save the world role like shifts and now it's went to mental health workers, and I feel like we're like on the cusp end of it. Like we're not quite ending, but I can see in the next 2 or 3 years it's going to be ending. I think it's going to shift to somewhere else soon too.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know what profession's next. We will find out, but
we'll find out.
Yes, but again, like, and it's funny because I did a podcast last week and we were talking about what therapy is, and I feel like people have such a stigma about like therapy is always like sitting on a couch with an old dude who's like taking notes on you. And I know me and you approach our sessions very differently. I'm almost always laughing with clients. We're swearing.
Yeah.
You know, clearly we take this stuff seriously. Like, you know, we're not laughing about someone's death. Maybe we are. Maybe sometimes you have to laugh about a funeral. Like, but I think like therapy is just so chill. Like therapy with us is kind of like how we're doing it now, but it's, you know, more obviously client focused. But therapy, I was trying to say like it can be, you know, it doesn't have to be so serious. Like therapy can be very light and airy, and you can laugh about things, and yeah, kind of like this.
Oh yeah, the amount of clients that I get that are new and they're like, and they tell me like, I don't want therapy, but I want coaching. And then as I like talk with them, it's just because they don't want it to be like super serious, or they want it to be different compared to other things they've done in therapy before. Because all you think of in therapy is like I feel like when you think of therapy, you think of some old guy, or I guess old girl, because I think now everyone thinks of a girl now. But like, you think of some like old person sitting there taking notes while you lay on a couch. And I've never been in one therapy office where you lay on a couch. I would love to lay on a couch, actually.
Just like close my eyes and do a session. Yeah, no, it's totally. And I've had some clients too that like apologize for swearing. I'm like, please don't apologize for swearing, because the next word out of my mouth is going to be fuck. So like, let's not do this. And yeah, and I think once people realize like, wow, I can laugh, I can make fun of things, we can swear in session, I can cry and laugh and scream in the same session. Yes, you do you. Like we've seen it all, and like, yeah, we just want people to have a space where they can just like relax and be themselves. There's not much space for that anymore.
Exactly. No, there's not. And that's why everyone's so pent up and angry and buying followers for validation.
Get yourself to therapy, seriously. Like, let's do it.
I feel like we're going to call this episode Go to Therapy or You'll Buy Followers and Road Rage on Someone.
Yes, literally, that's the name of this episode. I love it. All right, well, I guess we'll see what the hell comes up next week. Like I said, it was a chill week for me this week, so I'm sure I'm due for some like drama now that I said that.
Oh my God, I know. All right, well, take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.